superb horror movie sequels that critics love to hate. Someone had once remarked that it is much easier to criticize than it is to create. Truer words have seldom been spoken. The best instance of this is probably the film critics, who often take it too far when they're trying to trash a movie. We aren't saying that they're always wrong, but there are some amazing horror movie sequels where they completely messed up with their judgments. They were incapable of understanding the cheesiness of the movies, the fun aspect that made these so special for the fans, and simply slammed the content with their harsh remarks. In this video, we bring to you 11 such horror movie sequels that you will love, unless you fall prey to the critics and take them seriously. These entertaining horror flicks will somewhat shed the terrible reputation that sequels have acquired over the years.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Maniac Cop 2, 1990. The murderous brand of vigilante justice by Matthew Cordell met with a fitting end when a good cop, Jack Forrest, brought him down. After Cordell's death, suddenly the same pattern of murder starts to spring up in New York City. Forrest realizes that Cordell is back from the grave, and this time he seeks vengeance against those who plotted to have him killed. He joins forces with a serial killer, and it's going to be an uphill task to stop the duo in their act. True to the original, this sequel retains the dark and entertaining theme that made Maniac Cop such a joy to watch. The director, William Lustig, takes up the challenging job of providing continuity to the original and successfully manages to live up to the expectations. All the loose ends from the original have been addressed here, and even the characters have been continued. In fact, this movie betters the original in terms of the action sequences and some shocking deaths. The brilliant shootout scene in the police station can draw parallels with the likes of The Terminator. There's also a hair-raising car chase sequence through the streets of New York that will leave you shaken. Even the makeup effects are a steady improvement and help to portray the extremely violent deaths. The sardonic wit and black humor makes this all the more entertaining, and the cleverly written dialogue strikes a chord with the audience. Even the acting performances by Robert Davi, Bruce Campbell, and Robert Zadar leave a strong impact on the viewers. Overall, this is a praiseworthy sequel that can be an entertaining watch this Halloween. Hellbound Hellraiser II, 1988. Christy Cotton lands up in a psychiatric institution after her father and stepmother were brutally killed by Cenobites. However, no one believes in her version of the story except the assistant, Dr. Channard, the brilliant psychiatrist in charge of the hospital. The doctor, too, has been looking for the key to another dimension and manages to resurrect Christy's dead stepmother. He kills his patients to offer her food, and the gruesome resurrected stepmother helps him to bring forth the forces of evil. But his plans are disrupted by Christy and his assistant, who want to end the evil forces once and for all. The only person who can do justice to a Clive Barker classic is Clive Barker himself. In this sequel, he pens down yet another intriguing story that lives up to the hype around the first movie in this series. A noticeable difference in this one is that the insanity quotient goes up a notch, with a detailed vision of hell provided by the makers. The movie once again goes on to explore the subliminal journey into human desire, masochism, and craziness. Pinhead might be an evil antagonist, but he also provides the source of logic and comfort at times. Even in the middle of all this madness, there are elements of compassion that bind together in forming a complete narrative. The visual brilliance of this film takes it to a different level. There are some excruciating scenes of torture that will haunt you for times to come. Besides, the climax with the fall of Leviathan is probably the most morbid monster death that you will ever experience in movies. The later movies in the series miss the magical touch of Clive Barker, and this is probably the best entry among all the sequels. Jason X, 2001. Jason Voorhees, a murderous psycho, was cryogenically frozen in the year 2008 alongside a scientist named Rowan. After several centuries, when Earth becomes uninhabitable, humans move to another planet. A group of students accidentally awaken Jason and Rowan inside a spaceship. Once Jason begins to kill the students and crew of the spaceship, it all depends on Rowan to rein in the monster before it's too late. It's great fun to marvel at the return of Jason Voorhees, who comes back with a new look and a new machete. Only his old murderous nature remains the same. Kane Hodder is well respected for his work in this challenging role, and he mesmerizes the audience once again with a wonderful performance. The Friday the 13th film series never gets old, and this installment boosts the exciting aspect one more time. We find this movie to be a suitable sequel with the slasher sci-fi nature retained. The claustrophobia of the spacecraft is well expressed, and the tongue-in-cheek humor provides great entertainment. Watch out for the special cameo by David Cronenberg. Uber Jason will thrill with the kills, which is sure to blow your mind. Don't go in expecting Gone with the Wind stuff, and you will love the crazy entertainment on offer.
Get your ass in, you're on your knees! Roy, help!
The Devil's Rejects, 2005. Remember the deranged Firefly family from House of a Thousand Corpses? They are back once again, with Otis and his sister reuniting with a brutal clown from hell. They brutalize innocent hostages, and the body count rises. The Sheriff Wydell is in pursuit of these sadistic killers, and is also seeking revenge for the death of his brother. But it is never easy to get a hold of the Devil's Rejects, and it heads towards an action-packed final showdown. Rob Zombie is a veteran when it comes to making horror movies, but The Devil's Rejects still remains his best work. He is clearly influenced by movies like The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Badlands. He creates a cohesive narrative where you kinda feel attached to the bond shared by the Firefly family. While they are the villainous antagonists, you still find yourself rooting for them once in a while. The characters are built carefully, with a storyline that leaves you in a dilemma over whom to sympathize for. In some ways, the movie is even better than the original, and certainly more thought-provoking. How you feel about the bloody end sequence is really going to surprise you, and this injection of empathy is the expertise of the veteran director. There are moments of sadistic violence that will keep you on your toes. It isn't the easiest of movies to watch, but you are going to have a hell of a time if you give it a chance. Hostel, Part 2, 2007. Three pretty American female students studying abroad are tricked by a beautiful Eastern European woman into stepping inside a Slovakian hotel where they are promised seclusion and even romance. However, they soon find themselves in a living hell where they are sold to the highest bidder. The hosts love to torture, rape, and murder the victims, and the twisted masters bring them to a world of unthinkable pain. Is there a way out of this hellish world? When Eli Roth first came up with Hostel, it was an impressive attempt at creating a horror flick using extreme brutality and a social critique. For the sequel, he does it even better with a bigger budget. The violence intensifies, as does the bloodbath that ensues. The script seems tighter and better constructed for this one, and even the characters are better drawn up. This sadistic sequel even has a great twist to excite the fans. The plot goes about shedding some light on the fate of backpacker Paxton, who managed to escape from the facility in Slovakia. In many ways, the story has similarities with the original, but the updates are the gory deaths and the improved narrative. Jay Hernandez, Roger Bart, Laura German, and other members of the cast pull off a complete performance where everyone seems suited for their roles. As long as you have the stomach for some extreme gore, you can go ahead and enjoy this well-made sequel that has become a cult classic over time.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Oh, Gold who? Gold Finger.
Leprechaun in the Hood, 2000. 3 young rappers are looking to buy some equipment to be able to perform in a contest in Las Vegas. When a local pimp, Mac, betrays them, they decide to get even. They break into his place and steal a lot of his jewelry and gold. However, they unknowingly awaken an evil leprechaun who starts a killing spree while hunting for his stolen gold. Once the murderous leprechaun is loose in the hood, nobody is safe. This is the 5th entry in the series, and it proves to be an engaging laugh riot like you would expect. The campy humor and irresistible silliness make it just perfect for a guilty pleasure. Warwick Davis returns as the murderous yet hilarious leprechaun who puffs weed and perfects the act of a vile creature. However, the viewer is bound to be floored by the concept that everyone has a leprechaun within themselves. Right from the opening scene to the heart-wrenching conclusion where the leprechaun explains his plight, the movie is packed with funny but thought-provoking content. There isn't much in terms of budget for the costumes and makeup, but eventually, it still manages to be better than some of the other sequels. If you're intrigued by a leprechaun who smokes weed and gets nasty with the ladies, then you will enjoy this movie for some late-night fun. Wrong Turn 2, Dead End, 2007. A retired military commander, Dale Murphy, is hosting a challenging survival reality show. The participants have to survive in a remote West Virginia wasteland forest for prize money of $100,000. But the show soon turns into a nightmarish sequence when the contestants discover that some mutant, cannibalistic family is trying to hunt them down and feed on them. Fiction soon turns into reality as the participants try their best to evade the ruthless butchers. Who can survive in this hopeless game? This sequel offers more than the same gory violence that only gets bloodier this time around. There's not much to the story, and neither is it all that innovative. The plot is something that you have seen several times, and you could literally summarize it on the back of a matchbox. Besides the obligatory nudity and sex scenes, this movie is all about pleasing the gorehounds and enhancing the adrenaline rush with a tense atmosphere. The original had a dark, grainy, and hardcore look to it that is somewhat missing in this sequel. However, it makes up for that with a higher entertainment quotient. It tries to be a no-brainer and a mindless fun flick that you can enjoy for a Halloween get-together. Watch it for the inventive and brutal deaths, some interesting characters, and above all, for the amazing sequel that it turned out to be.
It ain't the size that counts, asshole. It's what you do with it.
Bride of Chucky, 1998. The dangerous doll possessed by a serial killer kills his old-time sweetheart, Tiffany, and brings her back as a doll bride. They tag along with an unsuspecting couple on the highway, and soon they embark upon their killing spree. The human couple realizes that this is going to be a highway through hell, as they must counter the evil dolls and their deeds. When the killer doll horror flick Child's Play was released in 1988, it was immediately a grand success. Naturally, there were several attempts at pulling off a sequel for the movie. Unfortunately, these sequels were rather average until Bride of Chucky came up in 1998. It followed the path of self-referential horror flicks like Scream and reaped the rewards as a fun horror comedy. The foul-mouthed killer doll Chucky promises a laugh riot alongside his wife Tiffany. The voice acting of Brad Dourif and Jennifer Tilly makes the performances even more special. The horror fans will be pleased by some gory murders that spice up the fast-paced narrative. There are some unbelievable scenes, such as the one where the guy gets blown to bits by a huge truck. The pulse-pounding suspense eventually leads to a shocking ending that makes it totally worth the watch. In the absence of lousy CGI, the special effects will manage to impress you. In short, if horror movie sequels could be ranked, this would be right up there alongside some of the best. Evil Dead 3: Army of Darkness, 1992. Ash gets transported to the year 1300 AD, where he is held as a slave by Lord Arthur. However, he soon manages to gain his respect by defeating two monsters in the fighting pit. He's sent to retrieve the Necronomicon, but some mistakes accidentally awaken the dead. In the crazy battle between the living and the dead, Ash must help Arthur defeat the undead army. This might be his only chance of getting back to his own time. Sam Raimi never forgets to remind you to have some fun in his carefree sort of narratives. It's easy to dismiss his movies as brainless dummies, but if you observe closely, there's much more to the plot than what meets the eye. This movie picks off from where Evil Dead 2 left off, and starts off with a somewhat altered opening. Bruce Campbell and his facial expressions make the character of Ash come alive for the viewers. He's back, and funnier than ever with a performance that will be remembered for times to come. He's just perfect as the arrogant and hilarious hero who's armed with a chainsaw as he takes on the forces of darkness. We personally feel like this is one of the best entries in the franchise, and while you may beg to differ, we're certain that you would enjoy the experience nevertheless.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.